Hey, Instagram. How's it going? Surprise live podcast, whatever the fuck this is. Okay. So, today I was just so I got inspired at Lambtown to spin again. Yay, spinning. And I have a few spinning wheels that have not been used in a while. And so I took out my single treadle Lendrum the other night, and I started treadling it, replaced the little rubber band and everything, and then all of a sudden the drive band just sort of came apart. Old ass drive band. Very, very sad. Can't spin. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just, buy some more of the polyurethane tubing. I think it is polyurethane, poly-something tubing, and just replace my drive band. So, and then I figured, well, why don't I just go live while I'm doing that, and maybe other people are interested in how to replace their drive bands as well. The reason that this is a little bit of a process is because, okay, so first of all, this is the old drive band. You can see the nice yellow color, right? And it is not stretchy at all. No stretch. It's super stiff and terrible. So in comparison, the new drive band is very, very flexible and extremely clear in color. You can see these two side by side right here. New drive band, old drive band, very, very different. And the new drive band is actually quite stretchy. So anyway, so yeah, I've replaced, I haven't actually replaced the drive band on my Lendrum before, but I have replaced other drive bands like this on other motorized devices. So, I might make a mistake or two as I go, but let's do it. And hey everybody, hey Knitted Wit, Left Coast Dyer, oh my gosh, hi guys. So nice to see you here. Okay, so first of all, why didn't I just buy the pre-assembled, fully, welded drive band loop from a spinning store like I could have, right? And the answer is because in order to replace the drive band on a Lendrum that it already is in a full circle where the plastic is fused together, you have to take the footman off. And that's not a huge deal, really, I guess, but I was just being lazy and I didn't want to take the footman off. So, and also, I know that I can just buy 1/8 inch diameter stock, band stock. So I was just I'll just buy some band stock and just melt it and stick it together, no big deal. And that way I don't have to screw with the footman and take the footman off because I can just thread it underneath and through. So that is what I'm about to do, and I'm going to move my wheel a little bit closer here so that hopefully you can see a little better. Yeah, it's going to be hard to see the threading part, but here we go. All right, so yeah, you can see we're just going to stick it behind the footman here. The footman is this shaft here that connects the wheel to the treadle. So stick it behind the footman. That is step one. And then I'll kind of move it closer so that we can see what we're doing here soon. Okay. So I'm just putting the band in the groove on the drive wheel here. And in the groove. Oh, another thing before we get too far along here, we want to make sure that the flyer is all the way down in the furthest relaxed position that you would, typically be in when you're not going to spin for a long time, or if you're traveling in the car or something. So because that's going to be the point where the drive band where there's no tension on the drive band, because you generally don't want to store your Lendrum from an extended period of time with tension on the drive band, because that can actually kind of wear out the drive band. Okay, so mother of all, flyer, all the way down. Cool. So now we're going to stick the drive band in the groove and then go all the way up and over the largest gear on the whirl. So largest channel here, because basically we want to know, we're kind of sizing it so that the so that it is that there's, even if you're spinning on the largest whirl, if it's all the way down, there won't be tension on the drive band. Excellent. So now hopefully you can see this. Get it a little bit closer. Focus. All right. So here we are. Now, right now I'm just kind of holding it together. Ooh, I should have been more prepared. Hang on a second. I'm going to grab a marker. Okay, marker grabbed. So, back to the band. All right, back in the groove on the bottom, and around the wheel, and around the biggest whirl. All right, and then I'm just pinching it together. And I'm not stretching it. That's important. You don't want there to be tension. You don't want to be like stretching it at this point. I'm just holding it like, you know, kind of firmly together so that there really is no slack, or there's the least amount of slack that there can be, like when I'm not stretching it. Okay, so just kind of like firmly pinching together here. Okay. Trying to move my fingers so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to mark where that is, and I'm actually going to mark it like just below the overlap, and that's just so that I cut off the actual marker itself, and I'll kind of tell you why in a second. So, but before that, I'm just going to make the red mark there. There we go. That's going to be where I'm going to cut it. Awesome. Okay. The reason is I want to actually cut off the whole red mark because we're going to melt this, and I don't want there to be any weird marker residue melted with my drive band. I want that joint to be like really pure plastic to plastic. All right. So now I can let go of it, but it's still wrapped around my footman. Important. Okay. So the other important thing is to cut it pretty precisely so that there is a nice straight right angle cut to it, which means no scissors, because scissors are kind of going to mush both sides of the tubing. You're going to end up with this weird V-shaped cut. You don't want that. You want a very straight cut at the end. So I just use a cutting board and a good old razor blade, new, very, very, very sharp. That's pretty important. And so now I'm just going to find my little red line. I don't know if you can see that. It's very hard to see. It's just above my thumb. Oh, there we go. Okay, little red line, and I'm just going to cut it. And I'm going to cut like just above the little red line so that there is no marker on my drive band. I'm just going to push down, roll it ever so slightly, and then I get a nice straight cut. So, and you'll want to actually do this on both ends, but you can see it's very, very, very flat on top, and that's what you want. Okay. So that's done. Another thing, you might be saying like, well, why didn't you just take like your old drive band and measure it? Well, I could have done that, and I could have done that with my old drive band, because I had stored this in the non-tensioned position. So pretty much when it just kind of like dried out and broke, it was at its it was in its relaxed state, and it was what the length of this new drive band should be. Now, if I had stored it though in a tensioned position, then it might actually have aged in kind of a stretched out position. And so if that were the case and I measured it, I might end up with a drive band that's just a little bit too long. Which, I mean, isn't the end of the world. You just like cut it and do this again. But yeah, and there's also a lot of, there's a fair bit of adjustment with the Lendrum mother of all to take up any extra slack. So, you don't have to worry about being super duper precise with this because it is stretchy. You have a range of adjustment. It'll probably be fine. That's what we're going off of at least. All right. Now we get to play with fire. And I'm gonna try to do this where you can see it, and I hopefully won't burn myself or set anything on fire. Now I have a candle here, and my candle is a little bit substandard because the flame is like deep inside here. Ideally, you would want a candle that was like trimmed around the outside so that you didn't really have to stick your fingers into it, or like a tea light or something, but apparently I don't have any of those right now, so this is what I got. A lighter doesn't really work because you need the flame to be hands-free. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is, or what I'm gonna do, is I'm basically gonna hold both ends very, very close to the flame so that they melt a little bit and get all mushy, and then I'm going to stick them together, and I'm gonna kind of compress them a little bit at first and then pull them apart ever so slightly, like just about 1 millimeter or so. What that does is it basically ensures just like really solid material here. If you push it together too much, then that like melted part kind of smushes out and you might not actually get a good bond between the two sections. But if you keep that just like they're just a little bit of like molten gooey plastic in the middle, then that fuses very well to each side and you have a really nice joint. What else? Oh, other thing is that this stuff, once it's melted, it doesn't cool very, very fast. So you kind of have to very carefully just keep holding it for a little while until it does cool and you can let go of it, because otherwise they'll slide, and you don't want, you want these to be as straight on as possible so that your joint is eventually as smooth as possible. You don't want them to be offset because that, might interfere with your spinning wheel. It might not fit into the whirl groove as well, that kind of stuff. All right, so melting, woo! So I'm just kind of carefully holding each one. I'm not putting it in the flame. I'm just sticking it to either side of the flame. And I'm watching and I can kind of see it melting on both sides. Yay! I think that's about good. So then I'm gonna like stick it together. And I'm just gonna separate it like just a tiny bit like that. And I'm gonna keep holding it here for a while. And it is okay if it spooges out. That is fine. We will take care of that later. Oh, I am not very aligned in that position. I'm just moving it a little bit because it's still molten. I can still do that. Looking at it from different angles. I am not liking that. So, all right. I think I'm gonna do it again because see how it's offset a bit? I'm not digging it. No, sir, I don't like it. So I'm just gonna cut that little bit out and we're gonna do it again. And hopefully I'll do it better next time. I might just hold it in front of myself here because it's easier for me to see that way. It's a little bit hard to see when I'm holding it out for the camera. All right. So I just cut that bit out, melting it again. Also, like if you stick it in the flame, like, this plastic can totally catch on fire. Don't panic, just blow it out, it's fine. It also like doesn't really off-gas a lot or it's not like a super smelly plastic, so that's kind of nice. Okay. So I'm holding it here. think I'm pretty straight in all directions. I know, it's not very exciting right now, sorry. I'm gonna keep doing this for, I don't know, maybe about 30 seconds or something. It's very easy to get it misaligned, so I'm just trying to very, very carefully hold it here. The temptation is to like kind of bring it up to my lips and blow on it to make it cool easier, but it's hard to move it like up to my lips and still keep everything straight. All right. There are like tools and fixtures that you can buy to do this, but you know, they're kind of expensive, and if you're only doing this once in a blue moon, then when your Lendrum drive band breaks, then, you know, this is good enough. And again, since it's, you know, since you have some stretch to it and you have a lot of wiggle room, it's not important that it be like super duper precise. All right. So, I think that's pretty good. Now I'll blow on it because it's like pretty solid here. And now you think it's ready to test? It might just pull apart and snap when I pull on it. That would kind of be a bummer, and I'd have to do it again, but whatever. The pressures of doing this live. All right, let's try it. Ooh, no, that's pretty good. I'm pulling on it. There's a fair bit of tension. It's pretty solid. Yay! Okay, so now you can see that there is a bit of a bump. I know I'm trying to get this to focus. Focus. There we go. So there's a bit of a bump there, and we're going to trim that down. I have a handy pair of super sharp little electronic snippers, because that's part of my general toolkit. Well, first of all, these are pretty cheap. They're like $5 on Amazon. If you don't have them, though, I think that a pair of knitting scissors would do really well, like these guys. These are my favorite, by the way. I got them from Brooklyn General Store at Rhinebeck one year, and the reason I like them so much, sorry, this is a segue into scissors, but like usually these like tiny little scissors, they're very, very sharp and I like them, but they always feel unstable on my fingers, like they're too thin, they kind of wiggle around. These are made from like one single piece of rod that's twisted. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. But anyway, they're kind of thick in this direction and they're like very, very stable, and I really like them. Anyway, these are great scissors. I think they're Inox, I-N-O-X. So, all right, I'm gonna use nippers though, because that's what I have. So I'm just kind of gonna go around the edge. You don't want there to be a bump here because again, the bump doesn't really, I don't know if you can see this, it doesn't really sit in the groove very well. So we wouldn't want it like jumping its track or anything. So I'm just gonna kind of go around and trim it. Trim, trim, trim. Don't want to like cut into it. I'm just, you know, going around so that it's flush to this band and just trimming off the excess. Little piece that's not coming. There we go. So that's pretty good. And hey, look, now it fits in the groove. Awesome. So, and then I can just stick it on my Lendrum. Look at that. Woot. Woot. And, you know, it's like, there's really no tension on it. Maybe there's like an ever so slight bit of tension on it right now, but I kind of like that because what I don't like is when I'm traveling and, or, you know, just moving it around and it flops out when it's at this bottom level. So anyway, that's just my personal preference, and you can still like, of course, you know, move it up, adjust the tensioning. Yay, Lendrum drive band totally replaced. So, oh, also, So if you're a little nervous about that whole melting part and getting it just right and stuff like that and testing it out, you can totally like try it out on a little piece ahead of time, which I did here. Burp, burp, burp. It's like a NuvaRing, except it's not birth control. Don't use this as birth control. All right. I think that's about it. Does anybody have any questions if you've made it through this whole thing so far? I'm gonna scroll and see if there were any questions. No, just people waving. Hey, people. It's awesome to see you. All right. So I guess just a refresher, what you need in order to change out a drive band in order to create like a new poly one is the poly tubing itself, which you can get off of Amazon or McMaster Carr, clear poly 1/8 inch diameter. You need a stable source of fire that you can set down. You need a very, very sharp razor blade so that you can make a nice 90-degree cut in that tubing. And you need a marker so that you can mark how long it should be. And it's helpful to either have like a little pair of very sharp scissors or very, very sharp electronic snippers in order to just cut the excess around once you're done. Yay! Oh, hey, Janina, how's it going? So good to see you. Changing drive bands on spinning wheels here, you know, as you do in the middle of the evening. Cheers. All right, I think I'm done. I'm gonna post this to my story and hopefully not lose this video and hopefully post it to YouTube later so that it'll be around if you wanna refer back to it. Cool.